here on Speak called Fair Play, where our guests get to turn the tables about and ask me a question about my own career in the arts. And with almost 40 years as a filmmaker, author, musician, and game designer, and as the CFO of the 501c3 nonprofit Blue Legacy that is dedicated to elevating, educating, and empowering artisans from all walks of life, I can pretty much talk about the creative industry for hours on end. Today with me is Michelle Lee. We have just completed a fantastic interview together for Speak, but now you, Michelle, are going to ask me a question. So welcome to Fair Play, and what's your question?
Well, I'm not going to really touch on the industry. I'm really going to dive into your mind.
Uh-oh, okay. And just so folks know, I do not know what Michelle is going to ask me. I have no inkling.
Well, Michelle didn't know what she was going to ask me, so it's fair.
That's very fair. That's very honest.
So, because my series and my books are so character-driven, I want to know when you're writing not your honest essays and your body of work type writing, but your stories, when you are developing characters, what is your biggest challenge in developing them? And do they often change course on you? And how do you react to that?
Ooh, that is good. That's good. Oh, Michelle. Now, I should have known that you were going to ask about character, shouldn't I? Michelle's work, The Raven's Journey and the I Spy series, we definitely went into, we said, well, definitely what they have in common is they're character-driven. Two very different series, though in the same genre of urban fantasy, but it's like they really are on opposite sides of the spectrum. One, again, like you were saying, not that there's not moments of humor in The Raven's Journey, but I mean, I Spy, it's like back to, I mean, I'm laughing my butt off, as I'm reading. Well, first I should probably say, I'm a Virgo, so everything is charted and outlined and planned very specifically. My writing routine is always scheduled. Though the positive of that, I guess the blessing of that is that I've never experienced writer's block, but at the same time, the wonderment that authors talk about when they say, I write by inspiration, I don't really experience that. I write because it's who I am and what I do. And I know that you're kind of somewhere in between those two camps. You can write on a deadline and on a schedule, but you also might, oh, I'm just struck by inspiration. You grab that pen or grab your computer or your phone or whatever it is. I don't tend to plan my characters, though.
Do they just sprout?
Yeah, boy, that is, wow. I'm like, how do I answer that? What do they do? I don't believe that my characters speak to me. I do believe that I shape my characters. My characters I've never experienced the, oh wow, I thought I was going here, but then my character said to me, or it was just very natural, the character went here. But I don't always know all of my characters' secrets. So there we have it. So like I say, well, I'm going to be writing a story, and bizarrely, I guess, I have come to learn bizarrely this week as I'm doing Speak interviews, I get my title first.
Oh.
And the title will just kind of come into my mind. I'm not trying to make it this metaphysical, it's just there. And then I'll immediately ask myself, like, I could be driving, I could be doing groceries or whatever it is. Well, what's that story about? And then from there, the story kind of falls into pieces. I do prefer to not, if it's a short story, I should stipulate, I'm sorry, let me back myself up a little bit. Oh boy, your question's really thrown me, Michelle. I outline novel length work, and when I'm writing screenplays or stage plays, those are all very meticulously outlined. Short stories, I do not outline, and I will not outline whatsoever. Does that mean that they always come out the way I think they're going to come out? No, but that seed is always there, the story that I actually want to tell, which is usually the ending, the emotional beat at the ending. There is a story in my most recent collection body of work that I knew needed to end with a woman burning her house down. And I knew that in her life, she was struggling with the fact that this was her family home. I could see the home very clearly in my mind. But at the same time, she was not a one-note character. She was not reliving the physical abuse that she experienced as a child in this home from an abusive parent. That wasn't all she was. Yes, those memories were certainly very raw in her as she was trying to reclaim this home and ultimately deciding not to reclaim it. But I also knew that in her life, she was dealing with a not unrequited love, but a very complicated, not quite love affair. And to me, those things were connected. She was not able as a grown woman to really find her own self-worth and be in a healthy relationship. Sounds like such a buzz phrase. She wasn't able to be in a fully realized adult relationship that would benefit both parties, which is just the definition of a healthy relationship, because she was still kind of processing her place as a child in the life of a mother that she'd lost to a stroke, and in the life of this physically abusive father who had a real problem with his temper. And at the end, when she burns the house down, it is saying goodbye not just to that past, but also to that relationship that really was not benefiting her. And I knew that was her journey. I knew that's where I wanted to end. I knew that there was a symbol from her childhood that I wanted her to take with her from that house and carry that forward. Because I don't feel we can leave our childhoods behind, and I don't think that that's actually healthy. I understand that for survival, sometimes we have to compartmentalize and we will lock things away, and that's okay. But for me and for this character, I really wanted her to be able to say, this item is going to symbolize what I carry forward. And I'm going to bird walk a little bit. Your senior editor is Brianne DiMarco, who is my wife of 13 years. And we don't spend a lot of time apart just because of the nature of our work. You know, we work together at the same company, this kind of thing. But there was a rare occasion where there's the squirrel who lives in the walls, where she and our daughter were on a camping trip, and I was alone. And this is going to sound a little odd, because I know I'm a 47-year-old grown-ass woman, but Brianne almost always curates what I watch. I watch very little television, and she tends to watch something first before I see it. And that couldn't be the case because she was away. And I thought, well, I'm going to watch documentaries because I'll be fine. And I watched the documentary, The Octopus Teacher. I don't know if you know anything about that one, Michelle.
No.
I do believe it just won an Oscar, which infuriated me literally, and perhaps for the first time in my life, beyond words. I literally could not find the words to express how angry I was. In this story, a man who is a cinematographer in real life and was going through some kind of crisis in his life, whether it was a midlife crisis, whatever it was, he was going through some pain, and he sought solace in the ocean. And he wound up discovering, befriending, not quite sure how to put it, this octopus. And if you know anything about octopus, they're incredibly intelligent. And this little female octopus that was about this big formed this intense connection with this man. It would run to him, it zoom to him, it would hold onto his chest, it would bring him things, gifts. It would, there was a school of fish, it was like directing the fish, you know, like this incredible, just the expression of joy and connection that this creature seemed to have for this man was so remarkable. And over the course of this film, the octopus is attacked by particularly a natural predator, and the man does not intervene, and the octopus is in pain, and the man does not intervene, and spoiler alert, right? You know, the octopus is ultimately killed and pulled apart, and this is all part of the film, and the man does not intervene, but he's there, and he witnesses this, and he witnesses these things, and because of some of the incredibly visceral and seemingly emotional connection that this animal had with this human being, that he did cross a line several times. He'd help her hunt a little bit, you know, things like this. I was, and very much disagreed with this idea of, well, I'll do this and this, but I won't intervene in this, and this way. And I'm like, this creature sees you as an ally, and you're doing nothing to help. If the creature saw you as a cold observer, the creature would not rush to you in riotous colors and cling to you and touch your hand and give you gifts and experience life with you. And I didn't know what to do with all of this anger. And then one day I'm reading an article about sensory toys that help kiddos and also adults with autism, not just to give them a cool sensory experience, but also to express emotion. And it was an octopus. It's about this big. It's about the size of a softball. And it, with one move, literally that move, it turns inside out. And it's either pale pink and smiling, or it's a fiery red and it's a little angry face. And boy, I didn't even think about it. I bought that octopus. I turned it to angry. I put it on my shelf. And I was okay. I had lived with this anger and this, I don't want to use the word trauma, because I feel like I have faced trauma in my life. I know what that feels like, and this felt different. It was shock and anger. It was anger that another human being would think that this was okay, and then a step further, that people were rave reviews about this film, which is beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful films I've ever seen in my life. Wow, how hard is that to say, I want to share this film with the world, but at the same time, I don't think this film should ever have been made. When I turned that little octopus inside out, and to this day, that little octopus has been angry and sits on a shelf. I can see it when I'm sitting in bed. I can see it when I wake up every morning. And it makes me so happy that that little octopus can be so angry that it's like she swallowed all of my anger. She took it out of me and said, you know what, I'm going to be angry for you, and it's okay. For me, when I write, my characters are that little octopus. They may be facing things that I've never faced, but the seed, the emotional seed, is the truth. Sometimes the only connection between me and the character, I could be writing about a much younger or much older character. I could be writing about a character that's not the gender that I am. I could be writing about a character that's not the sexuality or religion that I am. But there's something about us that connects us indelibly, that connects us deeply at the core of who we are, that we have shared. And they become these vessels that I'm like, I'm going to give you everything I felt about this betrayal that we both share. I'm going to give you everything I felt about that first moment that I laid eyes on Brianne. I'm going to give you everything that I felt when I was shushed by a doctor or shamed by a family member for crying out during delivery. Something like that. I'm going to put all of that in, and you're going to connect with me because of an experience you had on the front lines in Vietnam. Or you're going to connect with this because of the loss of the only good thing that you felt you had in your life, your golden retriever that you had grown up side by side with, whatever it is. But that emotional truth is there and is a shared connection. So I don't know if I'm actually answering the question. Like, you really threw me. That was a great question. But for me, with the characters, what I want from them is for them to get where they need to go.
Yes.
And the authenticity or the power that I try to bring to the story is the emotional truth that we share. So even though there might be this, like that, it could be one little tiny through line. Sometimes it's a line of dialogue. Like I would say something, oh, I always knew you were fine. That will be repeated, but it's about something completely different. So I guess it also kind of feeds into, all my life I've had people say, write nonfiction, write nonfiction, write nonfiction. And I'm like, I don't want to be known for what made me. I want to be known for what I make. And that has been, which I will say, in a previous episode, I mentioned that the body of work is my most recent collection, but I completed a collection recently called Sabbath Rising. And the first half of it is memoir. I guess what they call a creative memoir right now. So it's like told as a story, but it's complete truth. And that's paired, so the first half of the book is memoir, and then the second half of the book is all works that I wrote in the first 5 years of my career. So basically before I was 20 years old. And I wanted to put them out there because I'm like, I don't want any of these re-released. I don't particularly want to promote works that I wrote when I was a child, or I see myself as a very, very young adult. But I did want them to be there because I'm like, here, if this is nonfiction, here is what made me. And these early works, I have to admit, are like a foundation that I stand on. So, but at the same time, I also feel like my characters are ultimately nonfiction because of this shared truth. And you're like, wait, you really know someone? You really burned a house?
Yes.
No, but like that emotional truth is in nonfiction. Does that answer your question, Michelle? Did I answer it at all?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I would say, even though I sometimes wish that I had characters that talk to me, that would take me on their journey, I do feel, actually, like in Raven's Journey, I feel like these are my friends, and we talk to each other, we self-report, and I find healing because they find healing.
Yeah.
Isn't that the best?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why writing is awesome.
It is.
It is. All right, well, find my full interview, my full speak interview with Michelle Lee, and other interviews with other authors on Speak, and also other episodes of Fair Play on our channel. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you, Michelle, once again for sticking around and turning the tables.
Thank you for having me.